Hello and welcome back everyone to the next episode on SAP DataSphere come Data Warehouse Cloud Training with me Anubhav. In our last episode, we talked about the concept of remote table and remote data sources. We have discussed about the concept of how does the remote table and remote data sources will help us to utilize a table or a database object from an outside world. In order to improve performance, it is also possible that we can replicate the remote table by taking a snapshot, or we can perform a real-time replication. This whole process is called data federation. Then we talked about the concept of joins, also bringing our remote tables for business partner as association, as well as the remote table to to join the data with sales order item. We have seen how to take a snapshot or schedule the snapshot automatically. We talked about types of joins and also unions. Then we discussed about the process for currency conversion. And in order to do a currency conversion in DataSphere, you need to bring in the currency tables, views, and data flows. We brought in all the data flows from our S4 HANA system into the DataSphere system, along with the definition of views and also the tables. And then we trigger the data flows to fulfill our tables related to currency. And now we will go ahead and perform the currency conversion. So I'll want to first quickly show you that our currency table have been filled up or not. So you can see the exchange rate table, and it also have a corresponding exchange rate view. So I'll go to the view for exchange rates where the exchange rates are maintained for currency conversion and execute the same. And if the last class, the data flow towards the end was executed successfully, I should be able to see my data from this view. And you can see it's just booting up. So somehow the data preview takes a bit of time in DataSphere, but it is still manageable. So I go to the one of the view, and you can see now we have the rates from which currency to which currency. What's the rate of exchange rate of conversion? You can see, yeah, it's maintained for at least Euro and USD and some more currency to Euro. So most of the rates from my ERP system to Euro are in there, which means now I'm able to perform a conversion to Euro from any currency. In case the rates are missing, the analytic cloud is going to give you the error. Now, our next step is to proceed further and open our view which we were utilizing in the last class and learn how to perform the currency conversion. So I'll go back to the sales order view which we were creating and working with in the last episode. And in here, you can see we have our sales order view. In this, we have an amount of gross amount at items level along with the item currency key. Now we can proceed further and add a currency conversion. We will be doing this at an analytical model level. So let me open the analytic model which we created, AM sales new, and here is where you can apply currency conversion. I'll switch over back and we will perform the currency conversion over here. So you can see we have the gross amount at item level and the currency in which the item is being available. Yeah, item currency key. So this is my source currency and my target currency I want to hard code as Euro. So let's go back and click on add button, and we have an option to add currency conversion measure. We choose that. Now we select the source measure, and the problem here is you see source measure is not available. Why is that happening? So basically when you created the view in the last class, we have forgotten to mark that this particular measure may act like a measure as a currency, and if we don't do that, we should never ever be able to perform currency conversion on that. So let me go back to the data federation and reopen the sales item view, which was replicated in the last class to enrich that information with extra bit of property. So now I go back and I'll search for sales order item view from the federated data source. So let's go ahead and see. You see, this was the replicated data source called sales order item. I go inside this sales order item now, and here it was a relational data set, which is fine. And when you come down, you will see here the different properties related to your data source. So we need to somehow mention to the system that the value which we are having here for the amount, it's basically a special property. Yeah, it's a currency. I think that should be done in the view level. Let me just check. Or should it be done here? I need to just cross check. I can just make it fact. Yeah. So we have to make it fact first of all, not as a relational data model in the federated data source. So changing the semantic uses type will not affect the storage of this data. It is just enriching extra bit of properties in the federated data source at a data sphere level. I come down now, and now you see we have gross amount. So I will choose the gross amount corresponding to its currency code. So we already have here the currency code property. Here it is. Let's mark it as a currency code. You see this one. And then we just choose that this particular gross amount is actually my amount. It's an amount which points to the currency code. So somehow we need to do that. Unit of measure. So this currency code we have marked. So we need to inform the computer that this gross amount is basically my amount field. It is representing a amount actually. Yes. We need to associate it with the currency code. Let me just check where can we do that. It's not showing me here any option. Anyway, let's deploy this till now. So first we mark the currency key as a currency code semantic uses type in the federated data source. This is first step, so that computer can recognize that this currency key property, this field of my federated data, is actually a currency code. This is first change you need to do. Now let's go back to the view of the sales order item. Go back to the view. Sales order view. And in the sales order view here, when you have these measure gross items, you have here an option to change aggregation and change to attribute. That there is a possibility to basically inform the computer that this is basically my currency. Yeah, it's my currency. There is a way. Let me just check quickly. We should be able to do that. So for gross amount, somehow I need to inform the system that this is a currency field. Just let me check. I forgotten where to do that. Just allow me a minute. I think it should be done at a projection level. No, at a view level. Yes, here guys. Here you see this change button at the measure. Exactly. Yes. So we need to go to the view output and we need to click this change button. And yes, you see gross amount items. This guy. You see semantic type. I need to associate it with currency code. So you see amount with currency code, and I have to choose the currency code column here. Now you see it's not showing me the unit column at the moment. Why it is not showing? So let's go back here in the change, and for this currency code here, item currency key, we need to also make it as currency code here as well. So first we went to the federated data source, transform it to a fact, mark the currency key as currency code. We come back to the view. In the view, we also go for edit and add the item currency key as a currency code semantic type. So computer recognize this field as a currency code now. And this field can be then associated to the measure. So you see I have a measure which I mark it as amount now, and its corresponding currency code is item currency key. This is a very important property, without which you will not be able to perform currency conversion. I close this now and I redeploy my view. And once this step is done, once the redeployment is done, it will allow you now to perform a currency conversion on your field. So we'll see it in a minute. You can see it is just deploying still. My view deployment is still in progress. And once the deployment will be done, I can perform currency conversion. I'll switch over back. So now we are here and we are going to choose the source measure to do the currency conversion. I need to refresh quickly because we have updated the metadata of the view. So we are here now in an analytic model where we are going to perform the currency conversion. So we open the analytic model and here we have the gross amount items and its corresponding currency code, that item currency key. So now I will go ahead and add a currency conversion in the analytic model in SAP Datasphere. I click on plus button and I choose create a currency conversion. In the source measure, I will be choosing our gross amount items. In the target currency, I will right now hard code it to euro. Yes, I can hard code it to euro for time being. So let me put euro. Then in the reference date, I will put today's date. I can also pass here a dimension, or I can also choose current date formula. So as you all know that the currency exchange rates are keep fluctuating on everyday basis, you can put here a dynamic current date property, which will eventually pass every day. It will change the date. You don't have to come to the analytic model and change it every day. Then we put the exchange rate type. I will probably choose the M, which is a fixed rate type. This is something which will be a setting provided to you by the functional team in your company. So click select, client is 800. In case there is an issue during currency conversion, let's say exchange rates are not found, what to do? We can set it to null, or we can set it to unconverted, or we can also throw an error. So this is a setting which we can choose according to our convenience or the requirement in our company. Fantastic. We are done. Let me just save and deploy my analytic model. Once I deploy our analytic model, straight ahead I will be able to go back and see the converted amount. Yes. So you see the name of the new measure is called currency conversion measure. You see this is the new measure which has been created. This measure will be showing the amount of the total gross sales items in the euro currency. So a new measure have been introduced in the analytic model, which I will go ahead and be able to consume it also in the analytics cloud now. So I will switch over back now, straight ahead to analytics cloud. And here is where I will add a chart once more. We will select our space and the user from Datasphere. And then we will be, of course, choose our analytic model from Datasphere. All right. So let's go ahead and choose a measure. And wow, look at that currency conversion measure. So one measure we have is the gross total item gross amount, and another is the converted amount. Yes, the converted amount. So if you put both of them parallelly, you can see the actual gross amount is coming in the US dollar, which is 3682633 dollar. Whereas the currency converted measure amount, you can see the symbol already over there as euro symbol 3391006. Just to give an estimate, yes, you can also check on the Google the rates, and then you can see this particular dollar is how much euro. So if, let's say, assuming exchange rate, if I just go back and say USD to euro, yes, I just check the exchange rate, it's 0.91 today. So in the system, I don't know what's the rate maintained, but let's assume 0.91. Yes, considering that in mind, if I just try to convert this 3682,633 into 0.91, yeah. So this comes as 3351. You see 3391, it is coming. I think the rate is too much changed today, but at least you can make out that in euro the amount become lesser than dollar. So it depends on the rates maintained in my database table. Fantastic. So this is how Analytics Cloud allows us to perform currency conversion, and that will be done at analytic model level. And then eventually utilizing this currency conversion rates, we are able to proceed and create the dashboard with converted amount. Makes sense. Any questions till now on currency conversion before we move to the next topic? Okay, let's move on then to the next topic called hierarchy. Now, what is hierarchy? So a hierarchy represent tree data structure in data. So why do we need a tree data structure? A tree data structure allows us to traverse and represent data in a better way. So for representational wise, a tree data structure provides much more broader overview of your data. There are two types of hierarchies in datasphere. It's a certification question, interview question. The first is called parent child hierarchy, and second is called level based hierarchy. So it's an interview question, the types of hierarchies in SAP Datasphere. So why do you create hierarchy? To make your data much more attractive visually. Plus, traversing of the data becomes easier. Now, what is parent-child hierarchy? So remember, the hierarchies are always created at a dimension level. In a parent-child hierarchy, we have a parent attribute which describe a self-referencing relationship or a self-join with a table itself. So let's imagine there is a database table called employee and manager. And manager is also actually an employee, right? A manager is also an employee. So manager's data is also in the same table. So the manager field of every employee. So you have employee ID and manager ID. Both are part of same table. So it's a self join where manager ID of employee table connects to the employee ID of itself to be able to find who's the manager of that employee. Yes, that's a self relationship, self join. So child and parent tables are just normal database table, but linked in a way that describe a special relationship. So a parent child hierarchy includes exactly two columns. These columns mostly part of same table, but possibly can be in different tables. Also, it's possible that it can be in different table. So that is called parent child hierarchy. Yes. So this is a used most often when one table's value refer to value of another table also. We can do that. Yes. So For instance, most profit and loss statement have native parent-child hierarchy for representing the list of accounts. Also, a list of components of product, a car for instance. So let's say you are manufacturing a car, and you all know that to manufacture a car, what are the different components you need? You need engine, body, steering wheel, radiator, right? So if you look at a car as an object that has so many child objects to construct a car, so that's a parent child hierarchy. Yes, where the top node is the car and the subcomponent of that hierarchy are the components of the car. Yes, so this is what we call parent child hierarchy. Parent child hierarchy example: employee manager, car and its component, product and its component, cost center, profit center. These are different examples of parent child hierarchy in real world. Now, one of the limitation of parent child hierarchy is that the node, which is basically the item of this tree structure, must have a single parent. Must have a single parent. It cannot have multiple parents. Complex organization, of course, don't respect this constraint and require more complex graphs. Mapping these graphs to a parent-child hierarchy has to be proceeded by normalization to regular organization tree. So, what are the issues with, or what are the constraints with parent-child hierarchy? So, a few constraints with parent-child hierarchy. So, what are the different constraints related to that? So, first constraint is a dimension containing parent-child hierarchy cannot include cannot be included in another hierarchy. So if you define a parent-child hierarchy on a column of your table, the same column cannot participate in another hierarchy. That's not possible. The attribute used for parent key cannot be a composite key. So suppose you are planning to use primary key of a table as a as part of parent-child hierarchy, but that primary key is a composite primary key. Composite means more than one column. So you cannot construct a parent-child hierarchy with that also, because as I told you, parent-child hierarchy have exactly one parent node and one child node. More than two columns cannot be part of it. Yes. The import data source contains hierarchy members with multiple parents. We can use surrogate keys in data source to overcome issues. Now, that is the parent-child hierarchy. Now, in case if your requirement is to include more than two columns as part of a hierarchy, which is basically also known as multi-level hierarchy, more than two columns you can use to construct that. That's called level-based hierarchy. It's a hierarchy in a standard dimension that contain one or more levels of aggregation. So we can have, so it can have two or more than two levels. So parent child exactly two. Yeah, one parent, one child, one parent, one child. But the level base can have two. It can work like a parent child plus addition. In future, you can add more levels also. So it can have two or more than two levels. Yes, they are rigid in nature, imply that the root and the child nodes can only be accessed in a defined order. So they follow a order. Example: time, days, region, country. There is a order. So if you look at time, there is a year. Year is split into half year is split into quarters, quarter split into months, month split into weeks, weeks split into days, days split into hours, hours split into minutes, right? There is an order and you have multiple levels. Similarly, region. You have regions and like Asia Pacific, Japan, EMEA, North America. Under that, you have countries. Countries have states. States have cities. So you cannot put city on the top. City will always come at the bottom. So Mumbai cannot be treated as a country. Yes. So there has to be a certain order they must have to follow. The members of the hierarchy roll up into the next higher level in many to one relationship. So here we can have many to one relationship. Yes, many to one relationship when it comes to the level based hierarchy. Many to one relationship. So here we can have many to one relationship. In other words, the different levels of hierarchy are kept in separate tables. Each level is fixed. These levels are linked to each other in a way that describe a special relationship, a level based relationship. It is used for a level based measure. So don't worry, I will show you in the system how can we create either parent child or a level based hierarchy in Analytics Cloud. The most important part is reusability and its ability to utilize in the dashboards you can create. So what I will do now, I will go to our store table, which we created previously, and I will show you adding a parent child hierarchy over there in a store table. So let's go back to the store dimension table in DataSphere, which we created earlier. So we come back and we choose the store table. You can see this is a local table, which we created from the Excel files. And here you see we have the store name, store city, and store state. So basically you have a store, yes, which belongs to a country. Inside the country you have states. Inside the states you have store ID, store city, and store then the actual local store. So how many columns do you think are making hierarchy here? Anyone? Can you guess? How many columns are required to make a hierarchy out of country? Country inside have states, state have cities, and cities finally have your stores. So how many columns do you think are participating in this in case I want to build a hierarchy? Four columns, right? Is 4 greater than 2? Yes, 4 is definitely greater than 2, which means I can now create a level based hierarchy. So we go back to click this hierarchy button and we can create a level based hierarchy here. Why is this button not working? Just give me a moment. I just have to refresh again. So sometimes in the browser, you may see that DataSphere might show this kind of temporary issues, but it's okay. They are still manageable. I go back now and I click the button and yes, it opens up. And here you have option to parent child or level base. External hierarchy is nothing but if you are using a federated data source, let's say you got a CDS view from S4HANA and that has a hierarchy, you can import that hierarchy also. So we go level base hierarchy and I call it as store LBH, level base hierarchy. I add my levels. So the topmost level is country. Under the country, we have city. Under the city, we have the, uh, under the country, we have state. Under the state, we have city. And under the city, we have the store. That's my level base hierarchy. I click on close button and now have a hierarchy in place. I click on save. I will deploy. So that's my hierarchy which I've created at a state level. At a store level, multi-level hierarchy. You see, when you come back to any any data source, you can always check here the count, how many hierarchies are added here. Yes, you can always see them. Okay, so what is the impact of this on our reporting? Impact of this on our reporting is we will be now able to drill down. We will be able to see the sales at country level, then state level, city level, and store level. That drill down capability we will be getting. So I'm going to go back. I will quickly create a new view by just combining my store and transactions. So let's build a view in the graphical view. We'll bring the tables, transaction sales transaction table. And then we are going to also bring the store to perform the join. Join condition is met. Very good. So one store can have multiple transactions. So it is star to one. So you see automatically it has selected the cardinality also, that many transaction can be there for one store. That's good. Okay. Nothing needs to be changed else. Everything looks good over here. You can see everything is looking fine. We can just quickly deploy the view. So view sales store. I just put H at the end, which indicates that after creating the hierarchy, I build this view. Yes. I expose for consumption and I deploy. We will right away create an analytic model, and then we will see the uses of that in our analytics cloud. So it is just deploying it. You see, not yet deployed. Let it deploy, and then we will straight ahead go create a analytic model. It's deployed now, and we will create now a analytic model on top of this view. I will change it to fact view also and mark my measures. So my cost is a measure, discount, revenue, all these are my measures. So only on top of fact we can create the analytic model. You see now the option is enabled. Let's redeploy the view first and then create an analytic model. Click on a create analytic model. And let's call it as analytic model store transactions hierarchy. We can add again a converted amount if you want, but it's okay right now. I just click on save. Why my dimension is not exposed? Ideally it should have shown me the dimension. Let me just cross check. Ideally it should show me the store here as a dimension, yeah, for this view. I got the reason because we forgotten to add a store as part of the association, guys. That's very important. So you need to also come back to the view and we need to put here the association. Very important. So association has to be added for this store dimension. We have to add it as part of association. Let's redeploy the view. That's an important activity we must have to do in order to expose association. So it's just deploying it. We're waiting for it to get finished. Okay, it's deployed. Let's go back to analytic model, and it should show me here the object actually. Why it is not showing me the associated object? Ideally, it should show me the associated object also here. Let me just refresh. So we have added the store as a store hierarchy view as an association so that our analytic model can detect the same. I think I got a problem. I have associated the view by itself. I should have added the store there. So let me go back. So here this association, I've done the self association. I need to add the store here, guys. So association, store data I need to add. Store dimension, yes. Done. Let's go back and check the analytic model. Maybe I'll create one more analytic model. Yes, you see, now the store is pointing. Very good. So analytic model, and I'll say sales transaction store hierarchy sh. We already chosen it as a fact, so all the measures are coming. We are good and we can deploy. So you can see it is deploying now. And once it gets deployed, we will straight ahead go to Analytics Cloud. So the thing which we have done over here is we have added a hierarchy, level based hierarchy for store in our master data. I will now go back to the Analytics Cloud. I will now try to create a quickly new story. Add a chart, select our user and go to the space for datasphere, and we should see the new view or new analytic model sales transaction, the store hierarchy. And let's add a measure. Let's say total revenue. And now we can go to dimension. Come down. Do you notice there is a drill down? Wow. We choose the store ID. Cool. Cool, guys. Yeah. So this is how exactly we can add the store property. We can add the store over here. Why it is not showing hierarchy? Ideally, it should have shown hierarchy. I need to check that, guys, because it is not showing me hierarchy here. Ideally, it should have shown me the hierarchy for store. Yeah. Ideally, it should have. Yeah. Let me just try to do it for city.
I think Anubhav, universal the hierarchy, right? There is some flat presentation and hierarchy selection. The store ID, against store ID.
Yeah. Ideally, a hierarchy
Yeah,
button should
yeah,
also.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not coming. So the hierarchy which I've added, it's not exposed yet, I believe. So I need to check that why it is not exposing. I need to check that offline. So ideally, what should happen? I should have a drill down like this, like the time. If you just add a time, if I have a time here, yeah. So for the time, we do have usually a hierarchy, yes, where we can drill down inside the time dimension. On a very similar note, I should have a hierarchy option available here to drill down so that I can check the detail of each store based on total country, total amount, and so on. I need to check that offline and come back to you. But at least we focus on building the hierarchy, at least how the hierarchy is being built. That is what we saw in today's session by far.
Anubhav, can you open this in the grid format? Maybe in the grid format they might show
Maybe
in
in
the
the
table format, Excel format, in the SAC cloud.
SSC. You mean to say in
Not
the
even.
table control?
Yeah. Table
Okay, I'll
chart.
just add a
Not
table
in the.
control. Ideally, sir, it should work everywhere. Yeah. If it has to work, it has to work everywhere. Na? Even in the chart, we have
Yeah.
drill down capability. We add a dimension, store ID. No, it's not working. It's not working. So there may be
Anubhav, is it not possible to display the data at view level?
here we can display data, but it'll
Yes.
always come in tabular format. It won't come in hierarchical format.
Okay, looks like the hierarchical we need to set up at the association level, or do you think at table level?
It's correct only where we have added the hierarchy. We have added the hierarchy at a view level, which is correct. Yeah, which I believe is correct. So if you go to the definition of this source remote table, the table source, you can see, because at the view level we don't have a choice, or we don't have an option to add a hierarchy. You see, there's no button to add a hierarchy in the view. Okay, in the
Okay.
view we don't have an option to add a hierarchy. We only have this option available at a table level. You see, but the thing is, it is not exposing this hierarchy at the moment. I don't know why it is not exposing. Ideally, it should expose this hierarchy in the view outside actually. I need to check that and come back to you. Why is this that setting? So at least today's focus was to create a hierarchy. We could create a hierarchy. That's important part. Yeah. So now we created the hierarchy and everything is in place. So, but the uses of hierarchy at the moment in the analytics cloud is not working, which I need to cross check and come back to you. Let me take up the further questions here. So when you say federated data source, because of data sphere naming convention, so federation means any table, any view which is coming from a another place, yeah, a another system. It's outside data sphere system. That's called federation. We can turn run analytic mode instead of creating a model, right? uh, yes, we can, but ideally you should create analytic model. You saw the benefit today. When you create analytic model, you can add currency conversion there. Yeah, you can add currency conversion there. That's the benefit you get when you add a analytic model. Makes sense. All right, so let's move on to the next part, and our next topic is called data flow. Very, very important topic. There were a lot of questions in the last class regarding data flow. Today you'll get a right answers. So what is data flow? As the name suggests, flow of data. So data flow allows us to perform ETL in SAP DataSphere. That's perhaps the most known term for all of you. What is ETL? Extract, transform, and load. So what happens is, when you want to bring data from different data sources in DataSphere, sometimes you have special requirements to play with the data. Yes, one example could be, let's say I am bringing the data from three different data sources. I want to combine all through the join and then store in DataSphere. That is one example. Another example, I'm bringing data from HANA Cloud, but I want two fields from first table, three fields from second table, four fields from third table, and all of that I want to combine and store in one single place. That's another example of ETL. Then another example of ETL could be, I will bring the data, then I will transform. I want to do date conversion, time conversion, currency conversion, and then store in SAP DataSphere. So the whole process of cleaning the data, this process is called data munging or data wrangling. So you can perform data munging and data wrangling on top of incoming data from different data sources. That is called, that is where we use data flows. Last class, some of you also asked me, Anubhav, is it possible to replace the data? Is it possible to truncate the data? Can I control that every time I'm bringing data from a federated data source? Can I replace every time? Can I truncate every time? Can I update every time? Because let's say you are bringing 3 billion records. Now, once you loaded 3 billion record, which might took in a background job about 10 days or 4 days. Now, next time when you do bring the data from that federated data source in the analytics cloud, when you take a snapshot, you don't want to every day bring 3 billion records, because maybe that is too big historic data. You just want to get the delta part. Yes, you want to update. You want to update. So to be able to achieve all of that, we have the concept of ETL. You can use ETL. And that's where we have data flows. Data flows allows you to configure a graphical flow of data, that what is the source and what is the target. So we can create a graphical flow of data where we have multiple sources to bring data. These sources can be local or remote, like you saw the remote table, remote object in the last class. So we can bring all of that, and then eventually we can collect all the data in a single place. So we can create a graphical flow of data where we have multiple data sources to bring data, perform transformation, munging, wrangling, and store in a single target. So the target will be here a table. That's where we can store the data eventually. So that is basically allow or call as data flow. Data flow. So just it will be a graphical flow without any coding. However, if you are looking forward for complex data transformation, we can also use coding. And the most used coding today in data munging, data science, or data playing with the data is Python. So as the SAP also integrated Python programming, and we can use data munging and data wrangling with Python. So I will be covering Python basics as part of this training. You all will get comfortable. So what is the main purpose of data flow? Data integration from variety of data sources, easy to use data flow, modeling experience for ETL requirement, load and combine data from different sources, SAP and non-SAP. Anubhav, I want to combine data from my S4 HANA CDS view with HANA Cloud, and then I want to store it in SAP DataSphere. Can I do that? Yes, you can. With data flows, you can do that. Data flows allows you to do that. Yes. Then you can use standard transformation capabilities, which is low code, and advanced scripting capability, which is basically high code. So we have everything for all of you. Some of you are love coding. You don't afraid to get into code, get your hands dirty into code. For you have the advanced capability for data transformation like scripting using Python. Else you can also go with low level, which is low code based transformation capability, which are limited, which are standard and limited. We can apply a generic filter based delta, or select a specific column to reduce amount of data which transfers from source. Last class, this was also a question, Anubhav. I want to apply a filter. I only want the data from my sales table corresponds to America, corresponds to USA. Can I do that? Yes, you can do that. That's what filter based data transformation we can also bring in. We can also have dynamic memory allocation and auto restart. So a flow can be triggered in a task chain to automatically start at a given time. Let's say I want to run my ETL process in the night 12 o'clock every day. I can do that. So this is what data flow is capable of. So let us go and see an example of using a data flow to bring the data of employee in addresses, bring in only the relevant data and mask some of the data of employees. Like for data privacy and protection law, according to that, whenever I am storing sensitive data, I need to have consent, and if user is not given me consent, then I need to mask and store the data. So in our requirement, I would like to bring employee data and address data, and employee will have email ID and phone number, which is a sensitive personal data. My legal requirement and IP compliance says that I cannot store the personal data like email ID and phone number of an employee in my system, in my data sphere system at the moment. So what I will do when I bring the data from a remote data source, I will mask the employee ID, employee email ID and the phone number. So what is the requirement? What's our use case? Bring the employee and its address data from SAP HANA Cloud in SAP DataSphere. In order to keep data privacy protection law in place, since user has not provided the consent, we cannot store their email and phone number in DataSphere. So when we bring this data, we need to mask it. So you need to do a bit of masking on the data when you bring it from SAP HANA Cloud into your DataSphere. That's our requirement. So let us go ahead and create a data flow, learn how to execute and check its logs also in case if the data flow fails. So I'll switch over back to SAP DataSphere. We will create data builder, and here in the data builder, we have the option to create data flow. So in new data flow, you see this icon flow, it's flowing the data. I go in there and I will be utilizing the employee as well as the address data of an employee. Okay, so we will be creating now a data flow. So what I will do now is I will just go ahead and use my sources, my connection, and I will say go to SAP HANA Cloud connection, and we have a schema called data warehouse cloud demo schema, DWC demo schema, where we find different tables from this remote source HANA Cloud. And I will bring my employees data. Here it is. You see this employees data. Just drag and drop that over here. And we will also bring the addresses data of employee. So we have addresses. Let's add a join node. So you see we have options to do join, union, projection, perform aggregations. Yes, all of that options are there. So now I will just go ahead and add a join node. You see it's a very low code, no code environment, almost zero coding. Yes, let's perform the join now, and we will write the join condition. Yes, so here comes as the join condition, on what basis both the tables are going to be connected. So you see it has identified many properties between both the tables to define the join. My employees table, it has got employee ID and everything, and my address table. So the join condition, it has done mapping with multiple properties for join condition. So I will just go back and did I choose union? I'm so sorry. I should have chosen join. Yeah, this one I should choose. Why it was doing a union? Yes, correct. So this is a join, guys. I don't know why it added a union node. Though I added a join node. So this is basically a join between address and employee. It's a inner join, which is okay. And now after the join, we can add the next node to create a projection. So in order to minimize the volume of data transfer coming from HANA, we can create a projection. So system will only select few properties which we truly need to store in DataSphere. Suppose a source table contain 300 columns. Our requirement in DataSphere to not store all 300 columns. For analysis, our requirement is to just store few of them. Yeah. So we can add a projection over there. So we go to projection, and in the projection we will decide which columns I want, which I don't want. So I will get rid of the postal code, remove. I get rid of region, remove. I don't need address type. This validity date I need. I don't need latitude, longitude. Sorry, I don't need that. I need employee first name. I don't need middle name. I need initials. I don't need gender, language, phone number also I don't need, email address also don't need, and remove. So all the columns which I don't need, I have removed it. Now I need to add new columns at runtime. In my target table where all this data will go and sit, I would have just one column called employee name, which will concatenate employee first name, last name, and initials. All three will be concatenated and stored there. So I'll get rid of these also from here. I will be concatenating all three together with the initials. So I just have these properties for now, which is good. Let me go back and now create here the columns. You can add columns, yes, from the ones which you removed it, or you can add calculated columns. So watch out, we add a calculated columns. Now my first column is employee name I want to create. Employee name will be a combination of my employee initials, first name, and last name. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So what I will do here, I will write an expression. I will write an expression. So you can see there are a lot of functions provided by SAP. It's a formula builder where you can use different formulas and reference your columns. Yes, so I will just write an expression to concatenate. You see, the moment I'm typing, it's showing me the function names also. You can also come back here and choose here the function, for example string functions, and you can see here concat function. Yes, concat function, I can choose that. You can also read the documentation of the concat function. Everything you can see it over here. So what I will do is I will just click this. You see the function have come. It only takes two argument, but I want to concatenate employee first name, last name, and initials. So I will add one more concatenate inside concatenate. So first I will concatenate the employee name initial. I choose that, comma, employee first name, and then this whole thing which was concatenated, the initial and the first name, I'll concatenate with the last name. Very easy, simple concatenation. And the new column will be employee name. The length of this will be 30 characters, for example. I can validate my expression. I will be putting these expressions as part of our PPT. So you guys can go ahead and later on when you guys are creating, you can leverage and utilize that. Yes. So let me come back. So first we have the formulas used. So employee name. That's my column, and that is I'm creating with concatenation. Okay, cool. So that's the first part of the story. Now let's add one more. So I can click on columns, and now I will add one more calculated column. And as I told you, we still need email ID and the phone number of employee, but we would need to mask it. So we come back and we choose phone number, but I need to do some operation where I will truncate and get it. So what is the formula we are going to use? Let's say somebody's number is 95604666594. This is the phone number. So what I will do, I'll take the first four digits of the number, and I'll take last two digits of the number. And what I will do, the remaining these four digits I will replace with X. So the actual output will be 9560 XXXX94. So this is the masking. So actually, someone who read the data later on, they will never know what is the actual number. What's the actual number? How to do that? So what we do is we will take, let's say, this is the, let's say this is variable X. So I'll say write X of, let's say, 2. So please get me from the right side two characters of the phone number. So I get that. Yes. Then I'll say left X of 4. Please get me from the left side the first four characters of this number. So the right X2 is 94. Right, the left of X4 is 9560. And then I'll say concat. Yes, let's call it as Y, Z, and I will say concat my Z with this hard coded string. Yes, and then this I will call it as, let's say, alpha. Then again I do concat my alpha with Z. So as a result, this is my alpha. Alpha is Z. Sorry, yeah, Y. So Z is what? 9560. So 9560. Then concat with XXXX. That is your alpha. Then concatenate alpha with Y. So what is Y? 94. So you see, now you got your number. So this is a HANA function, right, left, concat. These are all HANA functions which are which we can use to basically do the masking. So let us go ahead and add that here. I will say concat, and I will say I want to concatenate. I want to basically this. So usually you see some test data in your company, they will have data like this, they mask the data. So how do they mask the data? Utilizing this some kind of operation on the system. And I say right side part, phone number, comma, 4. Yes, the last four digit of my phone number, please take that and concatenate. So that will be the phone number what I'm going to get. You can validate the expression. You see it is complete and no errors were found. Now next one, what I will be doing is I will be just going ahead and creating the email address also. Yes, let's go ahead and create an email address now in the system. So what I will do is I will just go ahead and create another column. Let me also put this formula into the system over there in the system. Yes, so let's do that. So we will be adding the email address also. Okay, so you can see guys, we have got here the projections, and in the projections now we have got all these columns. You've got phone number, email address, and employee name. You can clearly notice that whenever you see this fx, which means these are calculated columns with functions. That is what you can actually see over here. Yes, makes sense. Now once this part is done, what is the next step we are going to do? We are going to create a final table where this data is going to get stored. So let's go ahead and do that. So you see this last button here to add a table. I click on that button and you see it is creating a table now. So let's say target, yes, target table, which will store all the data related to your data flow. And I can say target employee master. So this is my target employee master table. Yes. So I will just go and create. So now you see it is giving an error that the table doesn't exist, which is fine. We can click on create and deploy the table first. So this will create a table now for us in the system. And this table will be persisted now in SAP DataSphere. Yes. And this is where exactly what you were guys asking in the last class, Anubhav. Whenever I bring the data from a remote data source, how do I decide whether I need to append, truncate, or delete? Very important, guys. Look at that. Look at that. So what is the difference between truncate and delete? Anybody from software engineering, can you explain the difference between truncate and delete? Anyone? Anyone? Software engineers? Difference between truncate and delete? Software engineers? Anyone? No one? Difference between truncate
I
and
think
delete?
truncate only delete the data. Delete will delete it along with table and data.
No, 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 no. It's opposite. So what happens at runtime? Whenever you create a table in any data warehouse or database, a skeleton of the table gets created first. Yes. And the memory of the table is allocated. This memory is called initial extent. A table will never allocate memory like, if your data size is 1 MB, it will give 1 MB memory. Never, never. A table will always allocate the memory based on chunks, based on chunk. So this chunk size is called initial extent. So let's imagine it is 50 megabyte. So even though you need one more extra record, it will allocate this whole chunk, whole block of memory to your system. It will never allocate memory row by row. It will give you 50 MB block. In that 50 MB block, how many records can accommodate? It will accommodate. Now, once the table is filled, system will automatically allocate another chunk, another 50 megabyte block to fill your data. Yeah. Now, this memory is filling, and the table is becoming larger and larger and larger. Yes. Now, suppose you run a data flow to this table. Now, this table is filled with, let's say, billions of record, and it become now 50 GB. Next time when you bring the data, when you run your data flow, you want to basically remove this whole memory. You want to free this whole memory. So the moment you refresh the memory, the moment you flush out the memory, what will eventually happen? After flushing out this whole memory, the data will also naturally disappear. Yeah, complete data will disappear the moment you flush out the memory. So truncate is a DDL command which will flush out the whole memory except the initial extent. The first block which was allocated, that will remain, except that the whole memory will be flushed out. As a result, the memory will be freed. The delete command, however, will never delete or never flush out this memory. So at some point of time, your table memory reached to 50 gigabyte of allocation. The delete will just delete the record from there. It will never free the memory. That's a difference. And what is drop command? This is a freshers interview question, guys. When I hire freshers in companies, I ask this question. It's a freshers interview question. Drop command will permanent delete the entire memory, including initial extent also. That is drop command. However, drop is not possible in DataSphere. Only the truncate and delete is possible. Yes. Let's go back, and you can see here we have append. Append means keep adding the rows. Keep appending the rows. Truncate will delete the entire memory except initial extent. Delete will delete just the data. Memory remains allocated. You can also do upsert. What is upsert? Upsert means please check the primary key column. If the record with the same primary key is found, just update that record. If the record with the same primary key is not found, please insert that record. That's called insert and update. That's why it become upsert. So you should use append upsert, so that system will check the values, and wherever new records are found will be inserted, and wherever old records are there, they will be updated, used as a target. And you can see the mapping, everything mapping is in place. All looks good. And now we can click on save. So this is how you create your data flow. In last class, you all had this question, Anubhav, how do I decide whether to insert, update or delete? How do I decide when we are fetching the data? I want to fetch data for a restricted columns only. I can also add the condition. I can add a condition. You can also choose advanced. You see the batch size. Remember I told you what is the batch size, what is this allocation size? So that also you can see. So you can see the batch size here. You can control that. Each each block of memory which is allocated, that also you can control, and you can start tracing also for the data. Now you can additionally add filters. Hopefully, I think we can. So I am only interested to get the data based on a certain condition. I can add conditions also. So you see here we have scripts and we have also aggregation. So when you add an aggregation node, which I'll show you in the next example, we will be able to add additional conditions to filter out or to discard the data which we don't need actually from the source system. So a lot of these benefits you get when it comes to using data flow. In my recommendation, in my knowledge, data flow is the most optimal technique to bring the data from a remote data source into SAP DataSphere. Let's deploy our data flow. The naming convention says DF. DF means data flow. Yes, I can say data flow employees. I can click on save, and now I can trigger the deployment of data flow. So remember one thing, deploying the data flow will not bring the data. Deploying means you're just activating your data flow. Yeah. You have to execute the data flow to get the final results ready. So I've deployed it now. You see it is deploying the data flow in the system. Yes. And now once it is deployed, we can click on run button to execute the data flow. So you see data flow run has started. You can see on the right side it's running. And if there is an issue, you'll get to know that. Now, as I told you, you can schedule the data flow also. That every night 12 o'clock, this data flow has to execute. Yes, that you can create a schedule as well. If there are any issues, Anubhav, how do I know? So you have this button called data flow monitor, which I will also show you later point of time, where we can go and check if the data flow has any issue, any problem. So you will also get to know that when you check the data flow monitor. So you can see it is still running. I can just refresh here to check the status if the execution is finished. You see the execution is finished, it's completed. And we can go back and check
Uh,
our table. It has persisted all the data in DataSphere by bringing from different data sources. You see, it has got me all the data. So if you go on the right side, look at this. Phone number was masked, email address was masked. Wow. Awesome, Anubhav. Awesome. There you go. There you go. Cool. Beautiful. Beautiful, guys. So this is the masking which we have done. And you see employee name were also concatenated. It was concatenated. Yes. Okay. So let me take up the questions first. So can't we delete and insert at the same time? No, we cannot. Only one option we can choose at a time. It's a drop down. The next question is, can we create dependency while scheduling? Yes. So that we will achieve using task chain. So please allow me to proceed to the next episode where we will show you the task chain where you can create dependencies of data flows. Anubhav, data flow can be real time instead of scheduling. No, it can never be real time. It should be either scheduled or on the fly. You need to go and run it before you run a special report or update report. Can we use upload tgz file table instead of HANA demo table? No. tgz file, if you have, please upload them in HANA first and then use them in the data sphere. You can't directly upload tgz here. Is the procedure same for non-SAP table as well? Yes. So the non-SAP tables will also be visible in connections. So imagine the success factor system here. Yeah, you can expand that and add a table. So the process remains
No,
absolutely same. Yes, sir.
yeah, actually, I have one doubt
Yes, sir.
regarding the question. See, in the mode you have mentioned that it will be either append or delete, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if my data source from the data source, suppose I have one record that has been updated, as well as one old record that is deleted from the source. So, but if in this flow, if I maintain only append, it will only change the it will only append the changed record, right? But if any data is deleted in the back end, will it how will it get reflected?
It will check if that record is coming from the source system or not. If that record is not coming from source system, it will mark it as for deletion.
Okay, so this same thing like we have in BW. Uh, this facility is available here also.
Yes.
Okay, but in the if I select only the append mode, how will it detect the deleted records?
So when it goes to the source system, it will ask all the records of the source system. And when the record which was earlier there not found in the system, in the target system, it will mark for deletion in data sphere. Comparison it will do behind the scenes.
Oh,
Yes. Okay. So let's take a break here for 5 minutes. And on the other side of the break, I will show you
Anubhav, one
the
question.
complex. We can take questions after the break, sir. Yeah. Let's come back after the break. Now, sir, your question please first.
Yes, Anubhav. We are replicating many tables from different source system. How can we find out from which source it is coming from?
You can click the table first and then you can see connection used to fetch this data.
Okay, in the front screen, is there any option to find the source system like BW or something?
No, on the front screen we don't have option. You have to click the source and then only you will get to know which
Okay.
connection it is using.
Okay. Suppose if we want to build any model, there are many tables in the front screen when we open that to find out our tables from particular source system. So we need to go here itself
Yes, sir.
in the source repository.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anubhav, regarding that replication or the snapshot topic, let's say we replicated the table and there's a function called start and stop replication. I think
Yes.
yesterday you have shown it. So let's say today we have stopped the replication. So
Yes.
after the stop, let's say there are some records got added to the table. So
Yes.
when you there's a button called resume application replication. I'm not sure whether it is there or not, or start replication. Let's imagine. So in that case, it will pick all those records, or it will delete the data from the replication table, and it brings the only the newly added records. Or how is it happening?
So in last class, the one which we saw, it's a direct overwrite. Yeah. But here you
Okay,
can
done.
control. You can decide whether you want to first delete everything and then bring in everything, or you want to delete everything and also remove the memory and then bring, or you can append with a upsert. So that setting you can
Okay,
choose
so
here.
so here delete, maybe there are two options. Delete using a var class also we'll do, delete from table also. So this will delete the entire data from the table, or maybe we can also like based on the primary key or some var class condition, we can delete the certain data, then we can append it. Is it possible in that way?
You see, in mapping section, map the column based on which the record in the target will be deleted. So when you come to the mapping, you see this mapping based on the criteria what we mapped, the data will be deleted.
Okay.
Yes, this mapping criteria.
So I think it's always advisable to go with up insert, because based on the primary key,
Yes,
it will add.
it will add
Yeah.
or update the data. And also the reason is very obvious. Let's say you're dealing with massive data, 1 million records. Now you cannot say that, every day delete everything and then bring 1 million every day, because usually a data warehouse, as you all know, is mainly used to store historic data. Now in general cases, historic data never change. Like a transaction, a sales which was recorded on 1st of January to 2020, you cannot go back to the past and change that order, right? So
Yeah.
to be very honest, thinking logically, the past data you are not interested to also bringing again and again. You're only interested to deal with the daily recorded transactions. Are these transactions being captured or not? Can you bringing them or not? Yes.
Thanks, Anubhav.
Thank you.
Anubhav, one more question. Here is that selective delete is possible?
Yes, this should be possible based on a condition. So I'm not sure where to define that condition, but there has to be some possibility. I guess under the aggregation, we should be able to define such a condition to basically go ahead and utilize the condition. So conditional delete should also be possible in my opinion. Let me just see. We should be able to create a condition delete. Yes, filter is there. You see this filter. So let's say if I add a filter condition on my column where city is New York, then what will happen? Only New York data will be fetched, and every time all operations will be done on New York only. We can also pass input parameters here. We can use input parameters, define parameters, and we can use them also. Yes. So you can always go to projection node and then you can create a filter under the projection node. Yes. That is what we can add quite easily, and all the operations on the records will be done on this filter criteria basis. So this way you also bring down the volume of data transfer. Suppose there is a requirement to only work with US data, India data, put a filter condition under projection. It will only and only fetch data relevant for your data flow, relevant for your condition. Yes. Okay.
Anubhav, can we create this a HANA Cloud connection in our company DataSphere website? Because to do the demo, what you have shown us,
Yes,
can
this
we
is
do
what
that?
exactly we did. In the last to last class, if you check back the video, we first created the HANA Cloud system in a BTP account. And that BTP account was my personal BTP account. And to that only we connected,
Right,
you
but
see.
then there is the tables are all empty in there. But for the demo one, SAP HANA Cloud demo connection, what we have used to use the demo tables for our build here. So how
So
do
if you
we
remember, we also
create a
uploaded the S-Flight schema into Anubhav HANA Cloud system. Do you remember that S-Flight scheme I showed you?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
code
yeah. So
catalog
we
object.
can use those
We
tables.
can use those tables. So of
And
course it will give you an empty box of HANA, and there you can create tables. I also showed you creating a table also, EMP table, if you remember, in HANA Cloud.
correct. Yeah.
That EMP
Yeah.
table you can also bring in and use that. Now,
Yes,
why is this
alright.
not working? Because I told you we were using trial account, and in trial account, after 24 hours or 12 hours, if you not use the trial account HANA Cloud, they will stop automatically. That's why this connection is broken now.
Okay.
So any data flow associated to this connection will also broke when you try to run it.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's advantageous if we have HANA Cloud and tables, and
Yes.
instead of a non-SAP system, while connecting or configuring, so that it will be compatibility-wise Delta, it will understand easily the tables and
Yes.
mapping, and it will be done easily. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Anubhav, this is Rambabu. One more question here.
Yes.
The re-engineering of the data, is it possible? I hope it is possible. As you mentioned earlier class, I practiced, and when sales transaction view created with association, that view is not displaying the data. When I click on particular tables, it is displaying. But on top of view, when I try to display the data, it is not displaying.
So this is maybe a temporary issue with DataSphere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because if we want to re-engineer the data, if there is any issue, each level we need to verify. At the
Yes.
table level, it is showing, and at the top of view level, it is not showing. We can't match in between. If there is any calculations, if we use, we can't match and find out the root cause.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, view level, I didn't find the data when I tried to display.
So that could be
Sales
something wrong with
transaction.
your join condition, sir. Kindly verify your join condition. I'm sure there may be some mistake in the join criteria. So join condition doesn't
In
match
the
system.
sales transaction view which you created, can you try to display the data from your end?
Yeah, let's give it a try. You can go to data builder. And I will go to the sales transaction.
Sales transaction view.
Yes, here it is. So that's the one, I guess. And if I
Same
go,
thing on the view.
so I'm first doing it on the table. Yeah, to see my table has a data. It takes time, guys. It takes time. I have seen, this is a small issue. You
Yes.
see, it works. I go to the view also.
Yes.
I'll just do the get at the view level now. And we should see the data over here also. It takes time, but it should ideally work. Yes. Sometimes I've seen it doesn't work, but eventually when we
Oh,
use
yeah.
analytics cloud, it works. Yeah. That is also I've seen. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Anubhav.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's move on now to the
Yeah.
next topic, which is called Python. Now, before I get into advanced scripting capabilities in the data flow, I need to explain you what is Python. Now, first of all, let's see what are the options Analytics Cloud offers to us as far as the data flows are concerned. So there are two broad options. One was standard transformation, as you saw. One is scripting. So in a standard transformation, we combine the data set with no code operator for projection, aggregation, join, filter, union, and add table. Data source can be tables, ABAP CDS views, OData services, remote files, JSON, CSV, ORC, Oracle, Excel, or Parquet. Also, we can have target mode append, upsert, truncate, and delete. This was a standard way of transforming data, like traditionally what you do in BW system. Now comes his advanced capability. What is unique proposition DataSphere brings to you? Scripting capability. So in data science, the most heavily used language today is Python. That's the reason it was a main reason for SAP to integrate Python, not ABAP here, because under the data science, they heavily use Python. So majority of the data scientists who are planning or to switch their career to SAP data sphere world, they're comfortable already with Python. But for us as a BW consultant, maybe we are not comfortable. But don't worry, the Anubhav training is here to help you to get you more comfortable with Python as well. So here we have advanced transformation requirement like extraction of a text, yes, writing if condition, writing loops, all that we can do with the scripting capability. It has embedded scripting editor in Dataflow Modeler, which support Python 3 scripting language, Python version 3. Yeah, but in general, Python is what it supports. So what is Python and why do we use Python? Yes, or what is Python in general? So as you all have heard about Python, Python is a programming language, right? It's a very popular programming language, perhaps the second largest programming language in the world. So Python is a high level general purpose programming language. It's designed. We cannot use SQL scripting in data flows instead of Python. We cannot. Its design philosophy emphasizes code readability with the use of significant indentation via the offside rule. So in traditional programming languages like ABAP, every statement ends with the dot. But in Python, we use indentation, means tab key, to define a code, lines of code, block of code. It is heavily used for data science projects, have the capability for data transformation and cleansing, data munging, data transformation, data wrangling. So what is data munging? So I will explain the data munging also with a pictorial example in a minute. Now, in order to practice Python as a consultant, you guys are all new to this programming language. Even for me, it was quite new before I started my DataSphere journey around 2 years ago when it was known as Data Warehouse Cloud. But I studied Python and I would like to also bring this knowledge to all of you. But in order to do hands-on practice, learning, training Python, what we need some tool which we can use for Python learning. The tool we use is called VS Code. So we use Microsoft VS Code tool, which is lifetime free. No extra money you need to spend to practice Python. So this is first thing you all need to do. Install this tool in your computer. Just go to Google and search for VS Code. Download VS Code tool. This is the link where you can go and download VS Code tool in your computer. So this is step number 1 you need to do. Once this step is done, next you need to install Python in your computer. So you have to go to python.org, the official website, to install Python. So you go to download all releases Python 3.11 for Windows. You click this button, you see it downloads exe file. You double click and install Python directly. Yes. You can also come down to see more releases of Python. You can go to Python and you can download. So from here you download the Python and then of course don't forget to install. After installation, you need to check where it is installing. So usually it installs in C drive program files or sometimes it installed in the app data folder. So put window R percentage app data percentage Go to app data, local programs, and under that programs you see Python 311, and you see this Python exe. It installs here. So in my computer installed here, you can also during installation choose the location where it has to install. Now this is very important because this Python is a is basically a command line to execute your Python code. Now what you need to do, take this address, copy this address, Control C, and straight ahead go to Windows, environment variables, edit environment variable. Go to environment variable, and on the right side come down to path, and please do not forget to add that here new this path. This is extremely important. Otherwise, you guys will not be able to run Python programs in your local machine. Apart from that, also add one more entry and add an entry of this scripts folder also. This scripts folder. This also you add the new entry here. Yeah. So this is very important in your system variable. You can see I have already added these entries over here in my path variable in system variable. This is third step you need to follow. So go to Windows, environment variables, and under path add entry for Python. This and this folder. It is mandatory to be able to run. So in my case, it was in my own user. Yes. For your case, it will be your user directory, whatever your user directory is. Yes. There it will be kept. So you have to accordingly choose. Okay. Once this is done, okay, what is our next step? Our next step is to start coding Python. Now before you do that, you need to go to the open the VS Code tool. So let me open the VS Code tool. So this tool gets installed very easily in your laptop, and then you can start coding on this tool just like any other development tool. This is also a development tool where you can start coding. Now what you need to do, first you need to create a workspace. What is a workspace? It's a folder in your computer where you store all the source code files. That is what you call it as workspace. So what I will do now, I'll go to my D drive in my computer, and I create a new folder called DS Python, datasphere training underscore Python. So all the code I will be storing in this folder, VS Code. Whenever I code, VS Code will store all the Python code in this particular file, in this folder it will store. So I come back and I'll say open folder, D drive DS Python. I link it with VS Code, and now see VS Code has open this. Okay, one second, let me open again. Yes, this folder VS Code has to connect and open. So you see now DS Python is showing on the top. This is just a folder of my computer where Python will store all my files and code. Yes, that's the next step. So create a folder in your machine, in your laptop, where we store all Python code, and open folder in VS Code. Next, here we will add all the files and code and everything to practice, to learn. Now, next thing, you also need to go this button called extension and search here extension called Python. And you need to basically install this Python extension. Yes, I have already installed it. What is this extension does? This extension basically add all the Python specific source code intelligence, means code completion, syntax checking, lot of benefits it will bring to you related to Python. So please do not forget this Python plugin to install, which is given by Microsoft only. Yes, so install the Python plugin in VS Code, Python extension in VS Code. Yes. These are the things which we do as a setup process to start learning Python. Now we switch over back to the folder. So you see here we have extension, here we have folder for project, and we can create our files. So I want to create first a very simple Python file where I want to print hello world and show you adding some comments. So we start with example for variables. Every file in Python should end with py, .py. .py extension indicates that it is a Python code. Yeah, it's a it's a Python code. Like if you work with javascript, every file ends with .js. If you work with xml ends with .xml. Similarly, every Python file ends with .py. Press enter. I will first show you adding a commented code. So this is a commented code. Yes, that's what you can write. So we will start practicing variables. So what is a variable? A variable is a data object which store value in program. So this is a commented code I've written. Now you can also write multi-line comment like this. So now here this is a multi-line comment in Python. All these lines will not be executed. Yes, that is what we do. Now another way is using double quote 3 times. Also you can add a comment. Now there are some variable rules. When you create variables in Python, you need to follow. A variable name are case sensitive. Means if you write A capital, Anubhav and Anubhav are different. So perhaps as a consultant, as a SAP consultant, you find it little tricky initially to work like this because here it is case sensitive. Unlike ABAP, which is not case sensitive. But in Python, it is case sensitive. Every variable must start with a name, letter, or an underscore. You can contain numbers, but it should not start with number. Can have numbers, but must not start from number. Now you can see it is indent based language. So if you put something, you have to just tab to do indentation. Yes. For example, when you create function, I'll show you that soon. Now let me show you creating a variable x equal to 1. There is no need to say int I, yes, anything. There is no need to say dot, no need to end the statement also. Yeah. So x equal to 1, it directly creates an integer variable. You can actually check the variable type using a built-in function called type. So let me just say print. Print is like printf in C to print some data. So I print the value of x and I say print. I'll use a type function of x. It will tell me the value of x and what is the data type of variable x that it will print. How do you test this program? So only these three are the executable lines here. So how do you test this program? Is first you save and you go on the top to open a terminal. Open a terminal. Please note that when a terminal open, it opens in PowerShell always. You have to change by clicking plus button to command prompt. Yes. Now we are in DS Python folder, same folder where the file exists. Yeah. Now what you say is Python space 01 variable.py. You can press tab key. It will type in automatically. You say tab key. It will take. Enter. And you see it is printing 1, which is the value, and splitting type. It's basically integer class. So the variable is a integer family. It is an integer family. Let me now change value of x to 2.5. This will be acting like a float. I just put upper arrow, enter, and now you see the family changed to float. X is of float data type now. Now I create next variable. Let's say name Anubhav str, and this should be inside a single quote. every literal or a string. I will also put is cool or not, and I say true. So the Boolean values always start with capital letter, true or false. They are Boolean data. Now let me print that. So I say print name. I'll concatenate type of name. I'll also print is school and type of school. So this is how you can concatenate. It will print the value and its data type. So let's run this. So you see, it's not printing some. Oh, I didn't save. I'm so sorry. I didn't save. Yeah. So now it's giving me an error. It cannot join this data because this is not a string. Yeah, is school is not a string. So I cannot concatenate like this. Never mind. We can just right now go with separate print type of name and separate print type of code. Okay, let's try now. CLS command to clear the console. CLS to clear console and run. You can see I've got Anubhav as a string. I've got true as a boolean. I've got float. So these are the different data types we have got over here in the system. Makes sense. Makes sense. So that is the creation of very simple variable and printing the data on the console for testing and testing your Python program. So we start with this, and in the next class I'll take you through the complete journey of teaching entire Python, and then I will show you how can you integrate this Python code after learning, gaining the experience by writing complex transformation with data frames of Python in SAP Datasphere. This was also asked by one of you that Anubhav, will you be teaching Python because my company heavily using Python programming in SAP Datasphere. So I would like to learn Python. So that was your ask and I do it for you. Yes. Can we use ChatGPT to write Python code? Yes, you can do that, but at least you should know first the basics. See, if you just copy pasting something, you should be aware what are you copy pasting, right? If you blindly copy paste something from ChatGPT or somewhere else from Google and you don't even know what impact that code has, it is very dangerous, right? So we should know first the syntax of the code. Now, just out of curiosity, data ingestion and data transformation are same or not? No. Data transformation is about changing the changing the changing the data data types, data values, but data ingestion is a different stuff. I forgotten the definition of data ingestion, but let's just try to Wikipedia. I think it is related to data suggestion. So you see the process of importing large assorted data file from multiple sources into single cloud-based storage medium. So data ingestion is like your ETL, importing large volume of data, and within the data ingestion, within the ETL, you do data transformation. Yes. So the whole process of bringing data from separate source to Datasphere is data ingestion. When you do data ingestion, at times some data is not clean, some data is dirty, like some data is not proper. So we need to transform data. So data transformation is part of data ingestion. Data ingestion is the broad process of bringing data from large data sources to one single place. That's like your ETL. That's your ETL. These are different terms used in an industry separately. So Python is the only one we can use. Yes, there is also something called SQL script, which you can use, but not directly. Indirectly, you can. I will teach that also in the training. Thank you so much once again. Catch you up in the next class. Have a nice day. Goodbye.